The low hum of the starship was a constant. A vibration felt more in the bones than the ears. For Captain Eva Rostova, it was the sound of a nova held in a bottle. Her reflection stared back from the obsidian of the forward viewport, a ghost superimposed over a tapestry of silent stars. The face was sharp, etched with the quiet intensity of a lifetime spent looking into the dark. A soft chime broke her reverie. The proximity alert. A specific three-tone chime she hadn't heard since the final, silent moments of the frigate Orion. Her hand tightened on the command chair's armrest. "Report," she said, her voice a steady and calm, yet carrying an authority that left no room for hesitation. From the sensor pit below, a young ensign looked up, his face pale. "Captain, a distortion at the edge of the system. It's non-Euclidean." Rostova descended the short flight of stairs, her boots making soft, purposeful sounds on the deck. She leaned over the ensign's shoulder, her gaze fixed on the holographic display. It showed a ripple in space-time, a wrongness that was not a ship, not a natural phenomenon. "Define non-Euclidean, ensign." "No emissions, Captain," the ensign stammered. "No heat, no radiation, no drive signature. It's just there, and it's on an intercept course." "Let me guess. The new long-range gravitic sensors are seeing ghosts." A new voice cut in, laced with weary cynicism. Chief Engineer Kalen O'Reilly emerged from the engine room corridor, wiping grease from his hands. He was a man of sturdy, practical angles, his face a controlled chaos of red hair and beard. High Command pushed them out too fast, just like with the Icarus. "My predecessor is still scraping that project's success off a moon in the TRAPPIST system." Rostova straightened, not taking her eyes off the display. "The anomaly is real, Kalen." Kalen grunted, peering at the display. "No energy signature. Impossible. Violates the second law of thermodynamics. I'm running a diagnostic, probably a ghost in the machine. This ship has more experimental tech than a mad scientist's fever dream." "It is not a ghost," another voice said, quiet and academic. Dr. Eris Thorne stepped onto the bridge, a stark contrast in his simple gray civilian tunic. He was the Alliance's foremost xenocommunicator, a man whose life's work had been met with a crushing void. "The Silenti do not use conventional energy," Thorne said softly, his eyes locked on the anomaly. "They manipulate space itself. This is how they arrive." A hush fell. The Silenti, enforcers of the cessation accord, a galactic decree forbidding species from making too much noise. Humanity, with its explosive expansion and powerful new ships, was the ultimate violation. Rostova's jaw tightened. "Eris, are you certain?" Thorne nodded, his face haunted. "The gravitic distortions. It matches the data from my first contact attempt. My data. They are coming." Kalen let out a low whistle. "So the boogeymen are real, and they've come for the biggest, loudest toy in the human sandbox." He looked around the bridge of the Stalingrad, a vessel built to be the ultimate expression of human power. "All hands to battle stations," Rostova commanded, her voice ringing with cold purpose. The casual atmosphere evaporated. Alarms blared. For a searing moment, Rostova saw the bridge of the Orion again, the alarms screaming, her hesitation costing 17 lives. Never again. That failure was the iron in her soul. "Kalen, I want every conduit to the shield emitters double-checked. Eris, comms pit, I want to know if they're saying hello or goodbye." Kalen nodded, his cynicism replaced by grudging respect. "Aye, Captain. I'll make sure our untested shields hold." Thorn gave Rostova a worried look. Ava, the last ship that met them, was simply erased. No debris, no flare, just gone. Rostova placed a hand on his shoulder. That is why the Stalingrad was built. She turned to the viewport. The time for talk was over. The Silenti vessel, now a shimmering blade-like distortion, began its silent, invisible attack. The Stalingrad shuddered violently. "Shields at 60%, the ensign cried out. "It's not a weapon," Thorn breathed, his eyes wide with terrifying understanding. "The energy frequency. It's complex, modulated. It's designed to deconstruct." He frantically cross-referenced the frequency with his old data. "They're not trying to kill us," he said, looking up at Rostova. "They're trying to make the ship tear itself apart." Rostova stared at the impassive Silenti ship. Her orders were clear. If fired upon, retaliate. But was this being fired upon? Or was it a test? "Open a channel," Rostova ordered. "All frequencies. Broadcast the universal peace greeting." Thorn looked at her, his face a mask of terror and desperate hope. It was his message, the one that had been met with silence. He keyed in the commands, sending humanity's introduction out into the void once more. For a moment, there was nothing. The energy wave subsided. Then, the Silenti ship answered with a new wave of energy, an order of magnitude more powerful. It slammed into the Stalingrad. With the force of a physical blow. "Eat shields at 20%, the ensign screamed. "Hull breaches on decks 7 and 9. Rostova gripped the command chair, her knuckles white. Her gamble had been met with contempt. "They didn't listen," Thorn whispered, his face ashen. "They don't care who we are." Rostova's face hardened. "No," she said, her voice low and dangerous. "They just didn't understand the message." She turned to her weapons officer. "Target their vessel. Power up the Lance of Sol." "Lance is powering," the officer confirmed. The ship groaned, a deep, structural complaint. The lights flickered. "What's happening?" Rostova demanded. "Captain, it's the AI." Kalen's voice yelled over the comm. "It's interpreting the Silenti energy wave as a system-wide error. It's trying to fix it by rerouting power, but it's destabilizing the shield grid. An autoimmune response. Override it. I can't. It's integrated too deeply. Now it's trying to optimize the power draw for the Lance. It's going to blow the main conduit." The weapons officer looked up, his face sheet white. "He's right, Captain. The power feed to the Lance is fluctuating wildly. Firing is impossible. We're defenseless." A heavy silence fell on the bridge, broken only by the scream of the alarms and the groaning of the ship. They were trapped. Their greatest strength, the ship's own mind, was their greatest weakness. And the Silenti knew it. Rostova turned to Thorn, her eyes blazing with a new, desperate fire. "You said they were talking to the ship. Can we talk back?" Thorn looked taken aback. "Talk back? Eva, it's a language of pure energy, of space-time manipulation." "But we have a recording," Rostova insisted. "If they can talk to our ship, can't our ship talk back?" A slow comprehension spread across Thorn's face. "Theoretically, if we could modulate the shield energy, create a waveform that mimics theirs, we could send a message, not of peace or war, but of equivalence." "Do it," Rostova ordered. In the comms pit, Thorn and a young engineer, Gia, worked feverishly. "It's no good," Thorn murmured, head in his hands. "It's like trying to describe color to a person born blind." Gia leaned over the console. "Doctor, you're treating it like a language. Words." But the AI didn't see words. It saw a paradox, a mathematical impossibility. What if? What if the paradox is the message? Thorn looked up, his eyes refocusing. He stared at the alien waveform, seeing it not as a sentence, but as an equation. "My God," he whispered. "It's not a statement. It's a question, a test. Here is a problem that should not exist. Solve it." "Andikar, Gia, you're a genius." Working together, they began to construct not a sentence, but a solution. A modulated energy signal that was the mathematical inverse of the Silenti attack wave. A response that said, "We understand the question." "Captain," Kalen's voice came over the comm, strained. "I can create a physical disconnect for the AI, a manual circuit breaker in the heart of the engine room. But if I throw it while the Silenti wave is at full power, the feedback will vent the plasma conduits directly into the engineering bay. It's a one-way trip. But it's the only way to give you manual control of the shields." Rostova closed her eyes for a fraction of a second. "Understood, Kalen. Get ready." On the fourth day, the alarm chimed again. "They're back," the sensor ensign reported, his voice trembling. "Dozens of them, all around us." A fleet of shimmering blades surrounded the Stalingrad, an orchestra of silent executioners. They broadcast a single, sustained energy note, a carrier wave, an invitation to speak, so they could deliver the killing blow. "It's a trap." Kalen's voice crackled from the engine room, where he stood beside a heavy, yellow-painted lever he'd nicknamed the Last Word. "I know," Rostova said. "Aris, is it ready?" "It is," Thorn replied. "It's not a greeting, it's the answer. Send it." A low hum filled the bridge as the Stalingrad's shield emitters began to glow with a soft, modulated light. They were not creating a wall. They were singing a song of complex mathematics. The Silenti fleet answered. A wave of energy, 1,000 times more powerful than before, erupted from them all. It was not an attack. It was a response. A deafening, overwhelming roar in their own language. The ship screamed. The AI, overwhelmed, went haywire. "The AI is trying to shut down the core," the ensign yelled. "Kalen, now!" Rostova roared. "Throw the switch." In the engine room, Kalen was thrown from his feet. He crawled towards the yellow lever, the air crackling with raw energy. He grabbed the cold metal and, with a desperate roar, pulled it down. The effect was instantaneous. The violent shuddering ceased. The alarms fell silent. The AI's control was severed. But the Silenti energy wave still washed over them. "Shields are holding at 90%, the ensign reported, his voice filled with disbelief. "Manual control is working." "Keep broadcasting," Rostova commanded, her voice unwavering. For an eternity, the Stalingrad held its ground, singing its unwavering note of intelligent life into the heart of the storm. Then, the energy wave ceased. The Silenti fleet fell silent. One by one, the shimmering blades vanished. All except one. A new signal came from it, a simple, focused beam of light, painting complex geometric patterns on the Stalingrad's hull. "It's a message," Thorn whispered in awe. "A real message, an invitation. They're sending us coordinates, a place to meet, to talk." Rostova stared at the coordinates. They pointed to a place deep within the galactic core, a place of unimaginable power and danger. She looked at the faces of her crew, tired, battered, but alive. They had broken the silence, not with a roar, but with an answer. "Plot a course," she said, her voice ringing with an authority born not of command, but of discovery. "Let's go have a conversation." as the Stalingrad, scarred but unbroken, turned its bow towards the heart of the galaxy. A new era for humanity began. The silence was over. The conversation was about to begin.